Welcome to Paladin Financial Talk. I'm your host, Ellie Robison. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm not Ellie. I am your co-host, Tony Shore, but our host, Ellie Robison, is here. Ellie, how are you?
I'm so good today. How about you, Tony?
I'm so good. If I was any better, my name would be Ellie Robison. That's how good
love
I'm
it.
doing today. I am doing great, fantabulous, and I'm excited about today's show. All month long, we've been celebrating Women's History Month. We've
Yeah.
talked a bit about women in history. How is it that the best show so far on Women's History Month has been done by Jeff Quick? He really had a good show.
He did.
I don't know if you
Yes.
listened to
I
his
did.
episode.
I listened to it because obviously I don't want to repeat any topics that have been talked about throughout the month.
Right.
So I checked it out and I was like, oh, he did his homework last week.
He really, as far as women's history, he talked about the history of women in finance and in business, and then current women who are really taking over finance. And I love that. I think it's important to note that the financial industry has been a primarily male-dominated industry, as
Oh, yeah.
many were in the first 200 years of our nation, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it's changing rapidly and for the better, wouldn't you say?
I would hope so.
Yes.
I mean, I'm an advisor. I'm
I'm
sitting
not
here today
saying-
with you.
Yeah,
So
I'm not saying, yes, exactly. You're a financial professional and very knowledgeable. And I'm not going to say we're all the way there. I'm not, especially as a man, I'm not going to say that.
there's some ways to go, but we're
Yeah.
heading in the right direction, I'd say.
But I just admire people like yourself, Ellie, and Nikki Foley, doing so much for women in business and women in finance. And you work with other women at other companies and bring them on the show. So I think that's fantastic, first of all. So everybody else went positive
Yeah.
with it. And we're going to talk about a more sensitive, or some might view it as a negative topic, but it's important because over half, so many people end up in a situation where they get a divorce
Correct.
these days. So,
Yes.
and I shouldn't say these days, it's been that way for a long time.
Correct.
And I think it is important to address what that means and what the financial implications are, especially for women. But
Yeah, absolutely. And I was inspired by this topic in the first place because as a woman, like financial advisor here, I have found myself in a lot of conversations one-on-one with women who are unhappy in their marriages and they need a safe professional to talk to about all the implications that might happen if they were to get divorced.
sure,
It's happened a few times now. And so
right.
that's why I wanted to bring this topic, to light today. And so it's not just geared towards women because obviously men go through the exact same
Right.
situation while going through a divorce. So I wanted to dive into it a little bit and
Okay.
just bring up some points that I bring up to my own clients.
That's great, Ellie. So where do you want to start?
Well, just as a breakdown on what I'll cover today is number 1, understanding the financial impact. Number 2, evaluating your assets and debts. Number 3, setting a financial plan for your future. And then last, tips for building a financial confidence moving forward, essentially.
Wow, that sounds great. So the first one there, understanding the financial impact of divorce or separation. What about that? It does have an impact, obviously.
Yes. And
Yeah.
first thing that I notice when I'm talking to clients is it's led by emotion. But as the professional here on the conversation, we need to start thinking about restructuring your assets. After divorce, people are forced to adjust to a single income, and sometimes the lifestyle that you were accustomed to during marriage is completely flipped over and it's no longer realistic. So it's common to see one person in a marriage usually take charge, and sometimes that's the man, sometimes it's the woman. That's okay.
Yeah.
So whoever you are, usually if you are the one who is a little bit more in the back burner and not so involved, I want you to be a little bit more involved and know exactly what's going on in your retirement plan. Do you know what accounts your spouse has? Do you know exactly what kind of accounts you have? You'd be shocked at how many people don't really know what they have. Where's your household income going? Are you paying, or where's the majority of the cash flow going? Is it mostly going towards kids or elderly parents? of either your parents or your spouse's parents? Are you paying for 2 mortgages? Is that where most of the money is going? So budgeting in general, just have a good foundation of knowing what's going on in your household. Marital property includes real estate and other property a couple buys together during a marriage. So this can be bank accounts, pension securities, and retirement accounts. So even though retirement accounts like IRAs and 401ks and other types of retirement accounts, which are individually owned by law, it is marital property. So that's why I want you to know exactly what's going on, even though they're not your accounts.
Oh, wow. Okay. So even though I have a 401k and my wife has a 401k, if they may be or an IRA, that's probably a better example. So I have an IRA and my wife has an IRA, but they can be joint property.
Yes. And so that's where it gets into the legality, because there's a lot of different situations in different states.
Sure.
If hypothetically you were to have an old 401k that you had prior to marriage, never contributed to it like during a marriage, that could stay yours if you were to end up in divorce. However, it also depends on what state you live in, right? So there are 9 community property states, and that includes Arizona, California, Idaho, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Washington, and Wisconsin. So without a prenuptial agreement, divorce requires a equal distribution of all assets acquired during marriage.
In the communal states, it's equally divided, just period. Yeah.
In most circumstances.
Right.
Because there are some like exceptions. I know that California has an exception for student loans. And so that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, sure.
Community property, it begins at marriage and ends when the couple physically separates with the intention of not continuing the marriage. So therefore, the earnings and debts originating after separation are considered separate property.
Okay.
Common law marriage. So I wanted to note this can be known as non-ceremonial marriage, and it allows couples to be considered married without having formally registered their union as either civil or religious marriage. So this can be in the states considered in Colorado, Kansas, Montana, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Texas, and Iowa. So what I'm trying to get at is, like, throughout the divorce process, you're likely going to encounter a lot of legal jargon and financial jargon that is completely new to you. And so a lot of this is led by the divorce attorney.
Right.
Typically. So just knowing the basics and just knowing your financial household and start doing a little bit of research before you even start the process is going to help you get a leg up, essentially, before pulling the trigger.
Yeah, and like you mentioned at the start of the show, you've had people contact you and ask you about things. I think it's important that you're working with a financial professional, especially if both you and your spouse were working with a financial services provider or financial professional like yourself, like the team at Paladin. Then you can go to them and say, okay, what can we do here? Or if the individual wants to call you up and get some advice, they can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That ties into my next bullet point here. So just evaluating your assets, number 2 on this list, where usually when I do get put into a conversation with someone who is thinking about divorce or hypotheticals, I usually say we do need to start with an attorney. Like, it's technically the attorney that needs to start, but once you kickstart it with an attorney, then you can start involving me, because there's a lot of operational tasks that need to get done in that process, and that's where I can help. In that as well, I usually really strongly consider a tax professional as well. Tax considerations. So divorce has a lot of tax implications in general, especially when it comes to alimony or child support and just the division of assets in general. So working with a tax professional will ensure that you're not paying more in taxes than you need to pay.
Right.
But tax implications can also apply to couples pre-divorce too. For instance, if you are considering using the tax status of married filing separate, I would want to make sure that you have a tax professional guiding you in that circumstance. Because, for instance, I know if one spouse files itemized with itemized deductions, the other spouse is forced to also file itemized. So that second spouse does not have any option. And it depends on which state you live in too. So community property states have different rules on top of that. So making sure that your tax professional is also working with you in this whole process as well. So divorce attorney, financial advisor, and tax professional. You kind of need all 3 for this.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. divorces can be lengthy and expensive.
Exactly.
But it is important to get it right, or you'll make more costly mistakes that could cost you your financial future. And you don't want to
Correct.
make those mistakes, right?
Correct. Exactly. So number 3, when we are setting a financial plan for your future, that will involve, your advisor more so. So when it comes to splitting up the retirement assets, so the actual operations of it all, usually we see quadros or qualified domestic relation orders, which are court orders.
Never heard of it.
Never.
Quadro?
We are highly tested on this. So in my
Okay.
licensing exams, I had to get familiar with this term. And we deal with it here at Paladin too, and we have clients go through divorces. And so what we would need is, in order to receive half of the non-participants plan, so let's say that you and I are married, Tony, and I need half of your 401k, I need to provide my court order to my financial advisor so they can help split up the account.
Sure.
We need that because 401ks have penalties if you do anything with them before 59 and a half. So
Right.
it waives those penalties and it splits everything up evenly.
Oh, interesting. That's good to know.
Yep.
Quadro sounds like something you would name a pet robot.
I've never thought about that, but absolutely.
Quadro.
Okay, this is a side note. I love pet names that are named with just extremely weird words.
Quadro,
Noodle. I love it.
Okay, I just had to get that in there. So once everything's split, what then?
That's when, like myself as an advisor, then I can truly do a reevaluation of your retirement plan.
Sure.
Once everything is set in stone, then I say, okay, we're starting from scratch again. And this is where we might need to readjust your risk tolerance for your investments. You might be eligible for ex-spousal Social Security benefits, depending on your circumstance, depending on when you get divorced too. If you're later on in life, you could even get survivor benefits from an ex-spouse. So there's a lot of aftermath that happens once the divorce is final, and that's where I can do my job all over again.
Yeah, that's good to know. So once you get to that point where you've had an attorney, you have the court orders to split everything, then you want to talk to a financial advisor for sure, because then post-divorce, you're going to need a plan moving forward, because you're going from usually 2 incomes down to 1, and that's got to be tough.
It is very hard for people. So I've also seen that firsthand with some of my clients.
Sure.
It is an adjustment. And
we see it when, in retirement, when the loss of a spouse can do the same thing. And it's unfortunately women who end up dealing with that a lot because they outlive the men. So
that's a good point to bring up too, Tony, because that is a little bit more natural in our conversations when we are talking about retirement planning with a couple.
Yeah, that always comes up.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we don't plan for divorce,
Nobody
right?
plans
no
for
one
it.
plans for that. So that's why we kind of have to tackle it after the fact, not so much before it actually
And that's
happens.
harder to do, isn't it?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yes. So building financial confidence post-divorce, I think, is just as important as any other step that we've talked about thus far.
Yeah.
Starting small and not feeling pressured to make any huge financial decisions right away, I think, is very important. Focus on, any immediate financial needs, like creating a budget and paying down debt. Like, I don't want you to feel so overwhelmed by a huge change of course in your retirement plan. We're just going to go gradual, and we're going to work our way towards those bigger goals later on.
Right.
Like you kind of mentioned too, like, don't be scared to ask for help, and make sure that you're hiring the right people.
Hello, Ellie.
Yes, like I can help with that. And that really, it can be expensive up front. Yes, absolutely. But it's hopefully going to be saving you a lot of money in the long term.
Sure.
Sometimes it's sad to have people come to us too late, and it's like, well, this happened years ago. There's nothing that we can do and help reverse what happened. So it's usually better to get ahead of it and hire the right people. So be patient. I think financial recovery takes time, and I want to give everyone that, sense of security that just taking those small steps will help you adjust to your new financial reality. Celebrate every victory. I know that sounds cheesy, but we have a firm belief of that here at Paladin.
No, I think that's great. And sometimes if it sounds like, oh, that sounds like self-help or cheesy, or I hear that, but it really is effective.
Yeah.
And it's really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that the Paladin team really works hard to do that. And you really impart that to your clients and people who you work with, like myself. I love that. That's one thing I love about Paladin.
Oh, thank you,
You guys
Tony.
are up there celebrating victories.
It's something that we really want to, build a community around. And
Sure.
so this also ties into my last announcement about Paladin is Nikki Foley and I are starting a women only client event
Wow.
system
Okay.
here going forward. We are hoping to have this maybe quarterly. It's not fine-tuned out. This is just the beginning stages of
Sure.
doing this, but we're not trying to be sexist with this new client events that we're doing, but what we're trying to do is build that community and that safe space for women to start opening up about their finances.
Yeah. I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I think any event where Jeff Quick is not invited, I'm teasing Jeff. I had to poke Jeff a little bit. But no, Jeff Quick and Jeff Foley up there will not be invited. But I think that's great. And to announce it during Women's History Month is great.
We're excited for this. We are hoping to have our first event in May. Details to follow for all of our clients. And it's going to be an exclusive client event, and you're welcome to bring a friend. So that is the formal invitation here. More details to follow. So
yeah, that's great. Maybe women, wealth, and wine. How about that? How does that sound?
Well, that's not a bad idea. I know Seven Vines Winery is not too far away.
That's a good one, isn't it? All right. Well, I'm just here to help. Throwing out ideas, even though I know I won't be involved. I'm here to help. But you know what? I'll help you promote it on the show.
Send your wife; she can come.
Yes. Oh, Sarah. That's true. Sarah will be there for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, great show today, Ellie. And listeners, thanks for tuning in. But before we go, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you and the web address so they can keep up with more information on the women's event.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can check our website out, paladinfinancial.com. We post all events, so not just our women events, but even webinars that are coming up. We post our podcasts. We post everything there. So check it out. Hand in hand with that, you can access all the advisors' calendars now on our website. So if you need to book your consultation, your complimentary consultation, you can go straight to the website. Or if you want to just learn more, just give us a call. So 651-842-8406, and we'd be happy to chat with you.
And don't forget to ask for Ellie.
Yes, exactly.
Right? All right. Well, that does it for today's episode of Paladin Financial Talk with our host, Ellie Robinson.
Thanks, Tony.
Yep. Thanks, Ellie.